Our world moves so fast these days, with strangers coming in and out of our lives. But we heard a story in our newsroom that made us all stop. And tonight, we invite you to watch that story and ask yourself, how connected are we?
He was one of the happiest people that anyone would meet, and everyone who met him loved him.
But no one loved Brandon more than his mother, Gail Bowden. His sunny outlook was an inspiration despite 17 years of challenges with spina bifida. One day, Gail got a call from school, a call that didn't seem that unusual at the time. Her son was sick.
Brandon was just sicker than we knew. And he stopped breathing at home on a Sunday.
Emergency crews rushed Brandon to the hospital. The doctors he had seen his whole life now worked to save it, but couldn't.
And then, and then he passed. And it was very quiet. It was very peaceful. And I tell people that he went back to heaven with as much love as they sent him here. Brandon died on February 12th, 2008.
CMC called me and told me to be there on February 13th, 08.
It was the call Ken Kittinger had been waiting 4 years to get.
I was a young, puff guy, and it'll knock you down, and that's what it did.
A strong, hard-working man. Ken had no time to notice the subtle signs of high blood pressure, but his body wouldn't be ignored.
So finally, I had to go to the hospital. And I went to Mercy Hospital, and I woke up 3 days later in ICU with kidney failure, chronic kidney failure.
The doctors told him he would live, but it would be a very different life than he had planned at 38.
Then there's dialysis, which is unpleasant as just putting it as nice as you can. It's a miserable existence, and that's what happened. And I had to endure that for 4 years. And finally, I was called for a transplant.
After the pain of surgery passed, Ken got his life back, but he knew the cost.
It just felt great, wonderful. The part that I struggled with most was I know that my gain was someone else's loss.
As the years went on, Gail worked to move past the pain of losing her son.
I still have difficult days, where I think about him and I cry, or I think about him and I smile.
She decided to paint her house with Brandon's favorite color, yellow, and hired someone to help.
Kenny shows up on Thursday. He says, "Hi, my name's Ken. I'm here to paint."
The pair of strangers set on a safe course of small talk that took them to family.
She told me about Brandon and that he passed away when he was 17. And I said, I know what it's like to be sick. I was on dialysis for 4 years. I had high blood pressure. And that was brutal. I said, but I just celebrated my 4th anniversary of kidney transplant.
I said, when was your anniversary? He said, last month. I said, February? He says, yeah. I said, what day?
And I said, February 13th, 08.
And I said, my son died on February 12th, 2008, and we donated his organs.
It was like an out-of-body, surreal moment because this just can't be happening.
All of a sudden, Ken says, you told me that you wrote letters to the families. I said, yeah, I did. He said, your letter starts out, hi, my name's Gail, my son Brandon. So I immediately start crying.
Then she made the call to Units and her son's donor coordinator.
And she says, his name is Ken Kittinger, and I said, yes. And she says, he has Brandon's kidney. And I almost dropped the phone, and I looked up, and she says, are you sure you're okay? I said, I'm still okay. And I looked up at him, and he looked at me, and he goes, it's me, isn't it? And I said, yeah. And then we both started crying, and then we hugged.
She took a few minutes and confirmed what I already know. This is my donor family. In their living room, amazed by it, right? It's just unbelievable.
It was just amazing, and it continues to be. It continues to be.
Do you think this is just some odd coincidence, or do you think this is something bigger?
When I tell people the story, I tell them it's a hand of God story.
Ken told me that he struggled for years trying to find a way to say thank you to his donor family for saving his life, and now he has. Ken isn't the only one that Gail and Brandon helped. Brandon's donations saved or improved the lives of 50 different people. We invite you to find out how you can make a difference also. We have much more information with this story on WIVB.com.